Before I start this video, I just want to begin by saying that the situation in Palestine is absolutely abhorrent and disgusting, and if you would like to give aid or support to the country, I will put links down below of different organizations and different ways to show your support, because the United States government, I'm an American, and the United States government has sided with the apartheid regime of Israel. Now, I also want to say that Israel has been committing these atrocities since 1948, and just because Israel is committing these actions does not mean you can be anti-Semitic and show hate and hatred towards Jewish people, synagogues, places of worship, disrespect religious days and observance, etc., because that is also disgusting and wrong. Israel is a Jewish state, but Jewish people are not Israel, and many Jewish people do speak out against Israel as a state and as a government and as a regime. So anyways, just wanted to put that in the beginning before anything. So yeah, enjoy the video. Hello. I know this video is like not 2 months after my most recent one, but I just wanted to make it because I just wanted to, I don't know. As you can see, I'm in a different place. Crazy. I'm actually just in the opposite corner of my bedroom. And as you can see, I have a bookshelf here. It actually goes like all the way up to almost the ceiling. And I need to get another one because I have a bunch of books stacked over there in front of my chair that I have nowhere to put. So I need to get another bookshelf and figure out where to put it to house my books, because I've been accumulating them since I was 13. The first one I bought ever for myself was Pandemonium. This book by Lauren Oliver. It sat at the bottom of my locker in 8th grade for like all year. I still have it, obviously. This is what I like spent all my money on that I had saved because the library at school didn't have the second one. So I was like, oh my god, I need to know what happens now. Okay, so as you can tell from the title of the video, today's video is going to be books that I have rated 5 stars on Goodreads. If you want to see my Goodreads, I'll link in the description. But I really wanted to do this because I see so many book reviews, and I guess my taste is not as literary genius and, you know, like academic as it is just like what I would want to read for myself. The sequel to this will be books I've rated 1 star, and that list is much shorter than the books I've rated 5 stars. So yeah, let's just begin. Number 1, we have The Odyssey by Homer. So when I was in university, I was a classicist, so like a major in classical studies and history. So when I was a first year, we had to read The Odyssey. So why did I rate The Odyssey 5 stars? This is going to get me absolutely destroyed, but I really enjoyed it, okay? Like my twin sister read The Odyssey, and she's like, I hate Odysseus. He's so awful and disgusting. Odysseus as a character, I loved it so much. And I loved it. It was so good. It was so good. And I know traditionally it's not meant to be read. It's meant to be heard because it's a spoken history that was written down centuries after the events were supposed to have happened. But I just thought it was so good. I loved him as a character. I loved the way it was written. Do I agree with the Greek way of life? No. Do I like that Nautica, I think was her name, with 2 A's at the end, her father was trying to pawn her off to Odysseus when she was like, this man needs clothes and food? No, I don't. But my sister was like, he cheated on his wife. I'm like, he was held captive on that fucking island for years, and he had to beg to be let go. The only thing that was keeping him sane and pushing him to move on was Penelope, his wife, and his son. That is the classicist in me who really, really enjoyed it. And you'll see I have other Greek writings in here as 5 stars because it's just so thoroughly amazing. That's all I can say. Personal opinion. So the second book I have on here, laugh at me if you want, but in French class we read Le Petit Prince, or The Little Prince. And it was so, I really liked the story. It was so beautiful, and yeah, it's a children's book. Okay, yeah, it's a children's story, but it was so beautiful. And the author of it, he fought in World War II, and he went down in the Mediterranean somewhere. And I don't think they ever found his body, but the aviator in the story is him, because he was trapped in the Sahara Desert until a camel a camel shepherd, I don't know if they're called shepherds, but like a camel herder, that's what it's called, a camel herder found him and his co-pilot in the middle of the Sahara, and he was hallucinating. And this story is an ode to that experience in his life, because he was hallucinating and seeing these things. It was so beautiful. I know that a lot of people a lot of people in my class were upset about how it ended, and I don't know, I just found it kind of comforting. I know that sounds horrible if you know how it ends and you're going to think that I'm actually insane, but it just did, and I thought it was amazing. Aside from the fact that it was popcorn read over the course of 2 weeks, I did read it in one, and then I also listened to it in class being popcorn read by a bunch of 18-year-olds, but it was really good, and I recommend it to everyone. The next one is... I know, and my last video was a Game of Thrones madness, but, this book was just so fucking good. It was so good, guys. When I tell you this book was so good, I was 14 when I read this book, okay? I read this the summer before my sophomore year. I read this in June, and then I read the rest throughout July. I just loved it. I love the way it's written. I love the POVs. In the show, they make sexual assault a very major part of the series, especially in Daenerys' storyline, and I said this in my last video, but she wasn't raped by Khal Drogo ever. 5 stars. It's just... it was just so good, okay? I don't have anything else to say. I love the story building. The story building is so complete in this book, in this whole series is so complete. I love the setting changes. I love the way it's written. The very first chapter is it's like a hook for your essay in English class. It hooked me. And the next one, unsurprisingly, is... Guys, sue me, okay? Sue me. I also chose this because the Red Wedding is in this book, and it was so... It's not the material, but it was just so well done and so well written, and also I will do anything for Jaime and Brienne's storyline. It was so good. Also, Arya, unhinged, crazy, love her. Cersei, actually, mentally unstable. I don't like Cersei, but my god, is she fun to read. She's absolutely unhinged. And you're like, what is this bitch thinking? What is she saying? Because it doesn't make any sense, but she thinks it makes sense, and it doesn't. Tyrion has no vendetta against you. Tyrion is my man, okay? I love Tyrion in the books. In the books, he's so well written and clever and amazing, and... Okay, guys, I'm overselling this. They're not good people. No one in this series is a good person, okay? I just like their characters. Thank you. The next one. Storm of Swords. But I also rated this bitch 5 stars. Same reasons. I'm sorry. Sue me. What can you do? It's just same reasons. Characterization, amazing. World building, amazing. POVs, amazing. It's just, and it's so consistent. Some books, you're reading them and they're like, whoa, when did this part of the world get introduced? It never did. The author is just like, oh, let me just drop that in there for shock value. No. Game of Thrones, you get to the point reading these books that nothing shocks you. Nothing shocks you. You get to that point where you're like, I've just read so many people getting their fucking hearts ripped out that nothing surprises me anymore. And that's what it was, but it's so well done. Okay, the next one I rated 5 stars was Red Queen. This book It's not very big, and it's like not extensively long at all. It's actually pretty short. I read this in 8th grade, and I still remember sitting on my bed reading this book illuminated by like rainbow lights that were hung up on my wall in December, and my mom asking me if I wanted to go to the grocery store to get hair dye because I wanted to dye my hair, and I did. But that's gonna be in my brain for fucking ever. This book was so well done. I actually didn't finish the series because I started to read the second book, and I didn't rate it 1 star, I rated it 2 stars, but it just wasn't good at all. Like, I started reading the second one, I got like halfway through, I'm like, where did the energy that was put into the first one, where did it go? Because it was gone. It was out of there. It was not in the room at all. But the first one was so good. Red Queen was so good. And honestly, you could read it standalone and then go on fucking Wikia and look up the fate of the characters. It was well done. The world building was really good. It was a little predictable. I will say it was predictable. But, I mean, that doesn't make it a bad book. It was just predictable. I liked the way that it addressed, like, class divide. Next one is Song of Achilles. This book wrenched my heart out. Tore it in half, okay? Now, I'm also a classicist. It was a good story. Doesn't really have much to do with, like, yeah, most plots are things that happen in the Achilles myth. But, like, obviously most of it is fiction. But it was really good. Just, like, if you separate it from, like, the Iliad, which is Achilles' like, song, but, like, his poem, but it's a book now. I liked the chronicalization of everything. It started when they were kids, ended, I won't spoil it for you, but it ended later. I liked the way that it portrayed their relationship. Another book that I rated 1 star, it felt as if it was written by someone who had never met a gay person in their entire life. Like, literally didn't find out they existed and was like, I can make money off this. This book, even though it was written by a woman about a gay relationship, I think it does portray, because it's not a perfect relationship, but it's also not hypersexualized like so many gay relationships are in the media, because like, gay men have more to them than sex appeal. Heartily recommend it. The one who wrote it is like she is like a professor of classical studies. And it shows. It's really well done, and it's beautiful. So good. Read it. It'll make you sad, but it's so good. Next one I don't have, but it's Salt of the Sea by Rita Sepetys. And holy fuck. Talk about heart-wrenching. I have a whole, like, section down here. Oh, it's my globe. Like, these are all historical. These are all about World War II, all these books. And I also have more historical fiction as you go up. These are specifically about World War II because my hyperfixation from the age of 7 to, like, still today is World War II. But this book was very well done. It has 4 points of view. It has Amelia, Albert, who's actually insane. Clinically. He was just so brainwashed, it, like, did something to him. Julian, and Joanna. I think those are their names. I'm not going to look it up because I have so many more books to get through. And I read this in 8th grade. This book is about World War II. It is 4 points of view. And its culmination, its climax is aboard a ship. Do I remember the ship's name? No. But I even made my mom get a free trial for Audible books so I could get this book on tape and listen to it, fall asleep to it. I still remember doing that. And this book was so well done. And the part that I really appreciated was showing, like, indoctrination, like Albert in the book. I think that was his name. It might not have been. His name might not have been Albert. That it showed that he believed he was right. And he believed everything that was being told to him. Something I did not like, personally speaking, is the way they did Amelia's character. Because she was, in the book, the tragedy. Like, she was the shock. That was her character. That's really all she was there for. She was my favorite character as, like, a person. Because she was, like, a child, and I felt really bad for her. But shock was the only reason I feel like her character was introduced into the book. But other than that, it was just really well done. And it was really good to listen to as well. So if you don't want to read it, like, if you like listening to books, this is one I really recommend you listen to. It was very beautiful. The next one is In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I've never read any of her other books, but this one was so... Reese Witherspoon recommended it. She recommended it. And this was so good. It's pretty short. There was a plot line that was predictable from page 1, and I guessed it right away, and it was... But it wasn't like it didn't destroy the plot. Like, it was just a little thing that, like, you knew was coming, but it didn't destroy it, and I was actually shocked, like, in the end, because it's a mystery, and you're, like, guessing the whole time. It's not big, as you can see, and I was guessing, I was wrong. I was right for that one, like, plot line, but it was so well done. Ruth Ware is British, and this book is taking place in England, and... like, it keeps you guessing. And it's so well done. And I also love, I don't know if you've heard the song. It's called In a Dark, Dark Wood. And there's, like, a song. And it goes, in a dark, dark wood is a dark, dark house. And in the dark, dark house is in the dark, dark room. And in the dark, dark room there is a dark, dark box. And in the dark, dark box there is a skeleton. Or insert scary thing here. Our art teacher in elementary school would sing that to us. And I loved it. He had a ukulele. I loved it. And that's literally the only reason I got this book. It's because I love the cover. Yes, I judge books by their cover, okay? But I loved the cover and I liked the name. Because I loved that song as a kid. And I think it actually says it in the beginning. Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, but it says dark, dark cupboard. Whatever. That's my American rendition of the song. It's different up in the front, but only slightly. There's the vocabulary, but it apparently was an instant New York Times bestseller. It's so good. I really enjoyed it, and I recommend it wholeheartedly recommend it. The next book that I did have a copy of, and I don't know what happened to it. Actually, I think I just borrowed the copy, but it is 13 Reasons Why. Netflix, you will be hearing from my lawyer seeking emotional damages for the show, because what the fuck was the show? Don't watch the show, okay? Watch something else, because this book, speaking as someone, I have major depressive disorder and I struggle with suicidal ideation since I was young, like 10 years old, and reading this book, I was in 8th grade again. I read so many fucking books in 8th grade because I didn't do anything else, but this book, it like, I don't know, it kind of makes you introspect on yourself if you are mentally ill and you're like, damn, this is what my death would do to people around me. But it was so good and so well done, and it was well-rounded, and it kind of made me feel seen as someone who struggles with my mental health and mental illness, and it like kind of made me reckon with myself, and I don't know, it was just so, I guess, opening, and the book ended in a great place, and it also, I think everyone should read it. It is pretty triggering, but something I didn't like in the book is that Hannah Baker, the girl who has left these tapes, is blaming everyone, like other people, that she has 13 reasons why she killed herself. And as a mentally ill person, as someone who struggles with suicidal ideation, there is, I guess, this is something that I didn't like, but at least for me personally, there is, for some people, there is nothing, no other people make you want to die. It is yourself, and it is your person, it is your brain. Like, for me personally, something, I'm like, I'm a failure, I'm no use to anybody. Like, it's not like, well, obviously sexual assault is that is a part of the book, and that is a very big catalyst to people's mental health, and is often a part to play in someone's suicide, but other than that, like, it still was very good, and the book was amazing. I don't even know. The book was amazing, and I don't think there should have ever been a show. I think that made it a novelty, and people started making edits about the show. I'm like, no, this is not the purpose of the book, and I do recommend it. The next book I also don't have, but it's called The Year I Didn't Eat. Shocker. I also am recovering from an eating disorder. I didn't officially have anorexia, but I did have an eating disorder to an extent, sorry, this is TMI, but I lost a lot of weight and I stopped getting my period, which is a pretty big thing in your body. Like, that is like, your body stops it if you're unhealthy, and like if you're really ill or don't have enough nutrients in your body to feed a reproductive system, your body will just stop feeding it. And that's what happened to me. And I read this book when I was in the throes of my eating disorder. I was a freshman in high school, going into my sophomore year, and it was about a young boy who struggles with anorexia. And the author, I believe, also, he wrote it kind of about himself because he was recovering from anorexia, because he was anorexic as a young child, as a teenager. And it made me feel seen. And that's another thing I dislike about eating disorders in the media, is that so many of them, I guess, are again made into a plot point or a novelty, and this was just something about him. It didn't make him him. I also liked the geocaching plot. That was just like a fun little thing, but it has a point in the story, and it does show from the perspective of someone with an eating disorder. So many people that write eating disorders have never gone through it themselves, and you can read as much as you want about an eating disorder. You can know everything about every single disorder. You can know all the symptoms, all the thought processes, but if you have never gone through it yourself, you cannot truly know. You cannot write someone and be like, well, I researched. Like, no. I really enjoyed it, and I actually recommended it to the book club in my new high school that I went to, and they read it. And I felt so good that I was like, oh my God, people have read this book. And it just, again, made me feel like seen as a person who was seeing myself in the media, but as a joke or the butt of something, and having comments made towards me about how I don't eat and how I just want attention, and those things hurt. But seeing yourself represented, not in a positive light, but just as a person who's going through something, is just amazing. The next book I rated 5 stars, I read when I was a freshman in university, and it is All American Boys. Again, I'm an American. Oh my God, read this book. Like, I don't need to say anything. I literally don't need to say anything else. Read this fucking book. This book is written, there's a black teenager named Rashad and a white teenager named Quinn, and the perspectives are written by people of those respective races. It goes back and forth between them, and it's not a big book, and the font isn't exceptionally small. It's just so good. And some people probably be like, well, that's just wrong. That's not. But no, like, this is the state of America today. I liked how the main character of this book was Rashad. Even if it wasn't in his storyline, he was the central point and part of this book. And so many books, I have some on my 1-star list, that just have white savior syndrome. The whole point of having a black character is to deify the white character. And this book, Rashad and what happened to him, is the catalyst for the white kid. And it makes a sense of reckoning within himself. And it shows that, especially in America today, like, it's called All American Boys, and I think this might be a banned book. I'll look that up. It has these awards. I don't know what they are, but well deserved. It was just so well done and written so well, and it shows, I guess, like, the duality of humanity and the extreme conflict of people and themselves and within their community when something they have been used to their whole life suddenly seems like they suddenly question it. And it was really well done, and I recommend that to everyone. I think everybody should read it. It was amazing. This next book I read when I was a junior in high school. I don't remember exactly when I read it, but it is Something Happened to Allie Greenleaf. I'm going to be completely honest, I bought it from Barnes & Noble because of the cover, but this book was amazing. It tells the story of a girl who is raped at a party, and there's 2 perspectives. There's her, Allie, who is the girl who was sexually assaulted, and this girl named Blythe, and she is the boy who has committed this assault, his best friend. And she is like, no, he would never do that. Or like, no, you said yes, it's not your fault. Like, it's like, you said no, but like too late. Like, that's kind of how she is in the beginning. And then she slowly realizes, like, oh my God, like, I am part of the problem. And Allie is she kind of lies to herself. Not lies, but she's kind of juking herself out a bit. And then she meets, like, Blythe, and they have kind of a friendship, and then it is just her trying to get justice throughout the story. And it was really well done, and again, sue me here, but I also felt seen in this book and this portrayal of Allie. It is traumatic if you have gone through a violent sexual assault or sexual assault in any way and have not kind of accepted it or reckoned with it, or it's still triggering for you. This isn't a book for you, but it, in my opinion, it was excellent, and the story was just something, like, not enough books like this exist because people don't want to read something that's kind of a tragedy, but I feel like we as humans need to. We need to read things like this. The book is about her. It's not about what happened to her. It is, but it's about her herself going through life after what happened to her. And I just think it was really well done, and I read it in like a day, and I was like, damn. Like, I just was like sitting on my bed like, well, okay, the next one I read for my media awareness class when I was a senior in high school. Okay, don't come for me, but it's Feed. I don't know who wrote it, but it was, I think a guy named Brandon, but I don't know. It was so good. I'm going to spend not a lot of time on this one, but it was good. I love it. In my job at McDonald's, I literally brought it with me to read when I was working in the fucking booth, collecting money, because it goes through class divide and technology in a future setting. It's a dystopian novel that goes through media, or connection between media and humans as citizens, and the class divide, and what is kind of the blinders that society puts on each class or each group of people that prevents them from seeing outside of their own line of sight. You know what I mean? Like, this one kid, he meets a girl who's from a lower class than him, whose father has had to struggle to make ends meet, and who isn't the most technologically advanced, and she believes that the government isn't all good and well, and she disagrees with because it goes into people buying and selling data information to sell you things, and it's just really good. I think everyone should read it, especially in today's age. I think it was written in the 90s. I'm not sure. Maybe it wasn't. But it was really well done, and I liked it a lot. Kids were like, what does this even mean? I'm like, you're not really reading it. This is a book you need to actually think. Like, it's not just, like, superficial. Like, you can't just be like, oh. Like, you need to actually delve a little more into it. If you don't like books like that, that's fine. Like, you don't have to read it. But I really recommend it, especially being a human in today's world. And the next one is the DaVinci Code. This, when I was in the psych ward, you could only have one softcover book with you. This is the book my sister brought me, because I couldn't go back home to get one. My sister brought me this one, and I read it. And so good. I think everyone has read or seen the DaVinci Code. Read the book. Oh my God. Could I pronounce any of the religious words? No. Did I know what a Silas was? No. Did I pronounce it like Khalees? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. It's a little embarrassing for me, personally, but I literally had no access to the internet. We didn't have phones or anything, or TV or anything like that. So I said I read it like Khalees. Okay? Yeah, like fucking Khaleesi. Just ignore that. It's so good. So good. Was it a little predictable? Yes. But every book is, in some ways, predictable. Well, I did predict. Did I guess the code? Yes, I did. And did I guess Jesus's bloodline? Yes, I did. But that's fine. It was exhilarating and fast-paced and running at the speed of light, but it still was coherent. It didn't skip a beat. It was on it. It was amazing. And it's not big. Like, it's not an exceptionally huge book. And Dan Brown knows how to write a fucking book. Dan Brown, this guy right here, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Simply, he does. And it was excellent. And I don't know what else to say about it. It was just amazing. This one I didn't write on my list, but I wrote it to 5 stars, is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Guys, this was so amazing. Okay, if you don't want to read the book or listen to it, I listened to it on tape. I also have the paper copy. If you don't want to, Wendigo, the YouTuber, has a great video essay analyzing this book. He does like a graphic novel. I didn't read like the graphic novel of it, but if you don't want to read it, go watch that. Oh my god, does it reckon with your humanity? And it's heart-wrenching. Like, yes, I felt bad for Frankenstein's monster. It's called Frankenstein, but it's about Frankenstein and his monster. Like, the whole story is that, like, he's been chasing this monster across the world. And in the end, guys, this book has been out since the 1800s. I can spoil it. When Victor dies, the monster is like, now I have no one. And the guy's like, what? You have no one? You hated him. And he was like, but I didn't. He was all I had, and I was all he had. And now he's gone, and now I have nothing to live for. The whole story is amazing, and it shows the selfishness of man and the way that we kind of refuse to reckon with ourselves and our actions, and kind of recluse into ourselves if something doesn't go our way, even though it was of our own making. It was so... And you feel bad for him. You feel bad for the monster, because the monster's telling the story of him, like... Oh, you feel bad for him. You do. I felt bad for him. Maybe you weren't supposed to, but I did. I was like, that's horrible. But as a human, as a conscious person, I'm aware that, yeah, I would probably run from him too. I would probably be terrified. But I felt bad for him because I knew him. The reader knows him. He is of pain. He is of sorrow. He is of solitude. And it's just... Boy, can she write. Boy, can Mary Shelley write. That's what I gotta say. Oh my god, could she write. The next book is the only nonfiction book that I have in this pile, but The Girl in the Green Sweater. Guys, this was heartbreaking. It was so well done, and it's a true story. This author interviewed Krystyna Chiger, and she's a Polish Jew who... She and her family survived the Holocaust by hiding in the sewers beneath Lvov, Poland, and it is so eye-opening. Can't say it's good, because it's really sad, and I don't think you can call nonfiction books good or bad. It was just eye-opening and very well done, and you see into her childhood, and... I don't know if she's still alive. She probably is not. I think this book was written in like 2004. So she might have passed because she was, I think, 7 or 8 during the Holocaust. They lived in these sewers for over a year. They didn't leave. And this sewage worker is the one who like saved them. And he died. He was hit by a car and he died on a sewer grate, and there's an imagery part in here of his blood dripping down into the sewer, and it comes full circle. But that's also this was a real guy, and this actually happened, and that's horribly sad. And her mother, when she receives the news, just breaks down, because this man was their lifeline for 14 months, and he wasn't getting anything for it. He just wanted to help them. He brought them food, he brought them water, and he even, the woman who's telling the story, she got really depressed when she was under there, and he brought her to the surface just for a split second to look outside. He lifted the manhole, and she just looked outside. And he did that for her because he didn't want her to lose hope. She was just a little girl. It's a very, very heart-wrenching story, and I think I said this about a bunch of these books, but like I think a lot of people, everyone should read it. I'm so happy and grateful that she told her story. So now us as people in the future who now that there's so few people left who survived these atrocities, that we can read their stories and know what happened to them. Okay, the second to last one is House of Gold. Read this when I was a freshman in high school. I have to say, I didn't rate it 5 stars because of the main character. I rated it 5 stars because of her brother. Otto, oh my god. Heart-wrenching. It is about a Jewish girl, and she's a girl in the beginning. She's like 17, I think. And she's from Austria, and she's sent to England to marry her cousin. And they are Jewish, and they come from a rich banking family. They are married off to each other because they're not first cousins, like they're like third cousins. They have the same last name, but they're not closely related. It just goes over her life in high society England and how she is. It's during World War I, and it just goes over how she is kind of like ostracized out of the community because 1, she's German, 2, she's Jewish, and 3, she's a woman. Brother Otto and Carl, I think was his name. My men. Their storyline was barely of the book, like barely in the book, but like they deserve better. I'm not gonna spoil it, but that was only a small section and part of the book. But at the end, when their storyline ended, I said it was well written. It was a great story. It was well versed. It was very consistent, and it was very good. And the last one is, let's say it again because I'm a classicist. I'm a classicist, classical studies, okay? So I read this in class, but Metamorphoses. I don't even have the brain power to explain this story, but it was so good. Read Metamorphoses, please. It's just, see, it's not for everyone. You don't actually have to read it, but if you want to know, like, the origin of these Greek stories and these Disney movies, read their original storyline. The stories I read were like the original. There's something called the plurality of myth, which changes things about certain stories during certain parts of history, and you can tell from which period a story has been altered or written due to these inconsistencies. Quick definition there for you. But Metamorphoses, holy fuck. Like, literally, I could just go. It was like that. I was left speechless, but it was really good. I didn't enjoy it, but oh my god, it was just so well done. Like, the plot is if it's not a fucking Greek myth. Okay, that is the end of today's video. I went on a little rant there for some of the books, but I just feel very strongly about these books. I have a Goodreads if you want to look. I'll put it down below. I will make a part 2 of this of books I've rated 1 star. It's not nearly as many as I rated 5 stars. And yeah, maybe I'm a little like heavy-handed giving 5-star reviews, but like, sue me, okay? These books I feel like deserve 5 stars. I'm gonna try to make like little sections about each book, like the little parts you can click on. I'm gonna try. I don't know how to do it, but I will try. And if it doesn't work, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna try. And if all else fails, I'll just put timestamps in the description of each book. Have a great day, night, whenever you're watching this. So yeah, peace.